Welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since the last Energy 101. Julie and I are here with our new friend, Magy Avedissian. Did I say that right?
Yep, you got it. You got
Perfect.
it. Bonus points for you.
Thank you. We just wrapped up our first Fuse conference. It is Digital Wildcatter's new energy tech festival. And that is how Magy and Julie met. So do you guys want to talk about how you guys met, how your experience at Fuse, and what we're going to talk about today?
Sure. Coincidentally enough, I guess I actually met Julie prior.
Before Fuse.
Wait, when?
Yeah. We had a little technical snag while I was trying to buy my tickets. So
Julie,
Julie,
that's right.
And I said, no ticket goes on lost.
Yeah.
Unbought.
No one's going to lose a ticket.
So we got her.
Yep.
Awesome.
We pulled some strings.
Yep. And got that done quite quickly. So,
Perfect.
and it was quite nice how this all worked out because, I live in a different country now and I was visiting back home in LA when I heard about this event.
Great.
So it was super last minute, but it ended up working out so that I can, quickly get the ticket, get a spot to stay and visit Texas again for the first time in 3 years.
That's a long time.
I know. And today we're dealing with one of those, typical weather storms.
So for those of you listening, it is the day after Fuse. We're still recovering and unpacking, but there was a storm that just came in and it's raining and flooding. And we really lucked out with Fuse.
We did.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
It stormed Monday night. Fuse started Tuesday. Went through Wednesday, Thursday. Clear, beautiful, sunny. I think some people got sunburned a little.
Yeah.
And now it's rainy. So those 3 days of the week, I don't know what we did to deserve it, but someone did something good.
Weather gods.
Yeah.
Thank you, weather gods. You facilitated an excellent event as well.
I was going to say, what did you think? Tell us your experience.
First of all, I just want to, congratulate you because I thought, the impact that this created and just kind of showing, what the energy space is about to not just people that are in like silos of, oil and gas, hydrogen, renewables, things like that. You kind of showed what everyone is about. So I just wanted to, commemorate that amazing ability to create an event like this. That on its own is phenomenal. And I'm just so happy to have taken a part of it and make some really, really cool connections.
Thank you. I'm gonna
cry. Of course. It makes me happy to see something like that. And, there just seemed like so many, different types of vendors, people, and coming from, all these walks of life within, I guess, mostly the United States, but still from all of these different walks of life. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had such an incredible time. I'm really, really happy I was able to make it both for those 2 days and the day prior during the kickoff. So.
I'm really glad you made it as well.
Of course.
Did you know John before? Is that how you heard about it?
John, I think I just followed him on LinkedIn, but I'd heard about it from him.
Okay.
The thing is, and I don't know if he cares for me to say this too much, so I'm Armenian by ethnic origin. And for me, we don't meet too many Armenian people within this industry. So for me, it's always very, very important to make that tie wherever I can. So
I love that. I know.
Yeah, we're a very small little community, but whenever I see an Armenian last name and some tie to the energy industry, somehow I have to try and develop the connection.
This is a call out if you're Armenian in energy.
Yep.
Hit up Magy.
Please
Magy
reach out
and
to
John
me.
are going to start their own Armenian energy club.
Actually, I'm a part of an Armenian energy group, but we're more, focused on things that are going on regionally in Armenia. But yeah, this is a call. Basically, if anybody else is interested in helping out the homeland, let me know.
I love that. So can you tell us about what you do right now, your background? You live in France right now, how you moved out there, when you moved out there. All of it.
Of course. So just to let everyone know, I guess by education and practice, I am a petroleum engineer and energy economist. I got started, I guess, with my professional career and education here in beautiful Texas.
Yeah.
And I went to school at Texas A&M for my bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering. During which time I was a little bit salty because I didn't get a chance to do a study abroad experience. I was just, really involved in SPE and just kind of things domestically. So I thought, let's see what we can find in other countries for a master's degree. That's wherein I had heard about the IFP school in France. And I don't know if you guys have heard about it. Yeah. So it's the French Institute of Petroleum, or as the French know it as École Nationale Supérieure du Pétrole et des Moteurs. Boy, it's a handful.
Can we get a motion to field trip to the French School of Petroleum?
Let's go.
Please. They need a Digital Wildcatters community event.
Actually, we need to make a French one for that. I totally support that.
Maggie's going to help us.
Yeah,
she's
definitely
the
help you.
French ambassador.
Yeah.
For DW.
I love it.
I hope the French people don't feel weird about an American being their French ambassador.
That's very American of us.
But I will gladly, maybe this forms some kind of cross collaboration. So maybe they would be happy about that. So I actually ended up going over there for the master's. I did a program in, at the time it was Petroleum Economics, Energy and Management. They've recently refurbished that program to be more energy technology, engineering, and management. So it was a really, really cool program. I got to do that for a year. And this was in 2019, though. So literally one semester in, that's when COVID starts. So we ended up having to do that second semester over Zoom. So I graduated from Zoom University as well.
Oh, man.
Add that to my portfolio.
Dang, we should have Jules here. Jules did that as well. She was in New York.
Oh, gosh. Gosh, that sucks. I don't know how their confinement system went, but for us, I mean, we were confined from, I think, like March to May. So yeah, basically all of my social interactions were with the 4 other people I was living with and the computer.
Oh,
right.
Fun stuff, right? So I came back actually though, whenever I'd finished my classes to start my full-time job. Actually right now I'm working for a company called QRI. And I was interning for them as well whenever I just had finished my bachelor's degree. So right before I was going into my master's. And we as a company also went fully remote as a result of COVID.
Of course.
Yeah. So I've basically been this like digital nomad in a sense within the oil field and I guess now the energy space for the last 3 or so years. I grew up in Los Angeles, actually. So my family's over there. So at the times where I guess I wasn't in France or in Armenia, I was staying in Los Angeles. Predominant portion actually of 2021, I've spent in Armenia. I was working over, due to some political reasons and a war, I actually decided to go over there and volunteer and help out with a little bit of the crisis management. All the while actually doing my full-time job as well.
Jeez.
So
wow.
yeah, just, kind of resourceful as a person. So
That's
I try to help out
amazing.
anytime I can. Not to brag, just literally, I just want to help out anytime I can. Yeah. So
the world needs more people like you.
Yeah. But for anybody else listening, always make sure mental health is your first priority. But yeah, so during that time frame, I was also doing some work over there. I was working with the Houston Hours back home here. And then between those periods of time from 2019 all the way to right now, I've also been living in France as I guess my main point of residence. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I'd love to talk a little bit also about, just some of the work I do. So in QRI, actually, we're basically a firm that specializes in utilizing all of the technical know-how we can in artificial intelligence and machine learning to streamline some of those really tedious oil and gas processes that we see in the upstream area. So, anything related to opportunity finding, to water flood management, decline curve analysis, anything related in terms of machine learning. We've spent a lot of time honing in and crafting our skill on that end to the point where we've developed some very interesting partnerships and conducted some very interesting projects all throughout the world with major national companies in which I've also gotten to take part of. So I'm really grateful for that. And right now I've kind of moved into this role of working with some of our new ventures, especially within the hydrogen and the water space. So we're really ramping up in some of those kinds of resource spaces as well. So I've had basically a really nice, upbringing and ability to learn from really amazing subject matter experts, as well as learn how to utilize technology to create real value for clients in any form and fashion. So really, really grateful for that experience. And I think it's made me really impactful on the technical scale as we talk about, let's say, things like, energy supply.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my spiel. Sorry.
I love it. No, I love it.
I
I was listening to you kind of talk about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, man, I wish I could understand all of it. And one day I want to have you back on the podcast when sometime you're back in Texas.
Of course.
Once we can understand, like we got to build our knowledge up to be able to understand decline curves and like just the use, the base knowledge you have to be able to talk about machine learning. I'm like, man, we've got a way to go, Sydney.
We do, but that's okay. We're on our way.
Exactly.
Yes.
And by no means will I say that, I've learned it all either. Like, just to also tell the audience, I'm 25 years old. There's still a lot for me to learn as well. I could still be considered a baby in the oil patch, or the energy patch now, if we can call it
energy
that.
patch.
Let's call it the energy patch now.
Energy patch.
Energy
patch.
You're like a Cabbage Patch Kid, energy patch kid.
Yeah. I'm the energy patch.
I love that. And I love that you said that. Something that you said to me yesterday, it like struck a chord in me. And I'm like, man, you said something along the lines of not being qualified enough to teach us something. And I'm like, no, I'm like, every single person in the energy industry has something to teach someone else. Yeah. Like, so my expertise would be, and I wouldn't even call it my expertise, just what I know would be like something in project management. I'm not an expert, but I could teach someone something. And I think that little thing would help the narrative, change the narrative all around, and help Energy IQ grow by just like people who this is their everyday life, but they think people aren't interested in it, or they're like, they don't care.
Yeah.
Like, no, people do care and they want to learn.
Yeah.
And everyone's qualified.
I think that they just don't know where to start with the learning.
Yeah.
That is true.
Which is, I mean, as we've said multiple times, why we started the podcast is because there's nothing that is kind of at that baseline. A lot of resources are what are put out from the authors of what they think the baseline is, but for the public who is not in energy, doesn't come from energy, like it needs to be a couple layers below that.
Yeah. So that's why when you said that, I was like, no, Magy, you are perfect. Like I want you on. And I wanted you on because we started talking about, I asked you your feedback and just like, hey, what do you think about all the content? Yeah. What do you think was missing? And you mentioned that. And honestly, when you mentioned this, it went so over my head because it's such a foreign concept to me. You said that, there wasn't any talk about as Americans, we don't do anything to decrease energy consumption. And we always talk about building new things and kind of meeting the demand.
Expanding the infrastructure to be able to use more energy.
Yeah. Instead of doing like Europe does, where they will do stuff to decrease the consumption.
Yep.
So let's get into that. Because whenever you told me that, I'm like, oh, so Europe, this is how, just over my head, and I don't understand it. I've never been over to Europe. So I was like, oh, Europe needs to increase their infrastructure and they need to, do more with energy so their people can be comfortable. Right. But you're saying that, no, their people are fine and they want to decrease the consumption, and Americans should do better and become more efficient.
Yes.
So let's get into that.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the first point to start off with is, kind of as you said, everyone has something that they can teach to somebody else, but also everyone has something that they can bring to the table. So in this case, there's a lot of things I think in America we do right. And I think there's a lot of things in Europe we do right. And so there's kind of a way to bring both of those perspectives into the table. So like you said, at Fuse, we had a lot of individuals that were talking about, expansion of this, CapEx thrown into that, new pipelines here, there, everywhere, transmission grids, make sure that we can provide energy for as many people as possible in, let's say, in just theoretical infinite amounts.
Yeah, for as long as possible.
For as long as possible, too, yeah. So that's a good conversation to have, but that only really talks about, the supply side. Now, in typical economics, everything has to work as an optimization function, if you will, where we talk about supply and demand. Those two, we can look at them independently, but in reality, there is a lot of relation between them and even how it relates to, let's say, markets and, public sentiment. So I grew up in the United States. I have a particular viewpoint. I spent a lot of time as well in Texas, where we have this predominantly supply side nature of and very, we have, utility, and we want to increase the quality of life for everyone based off of supply. Great. Now, I moved to Europe 3 years ago, and I was thrown aback, quite honestly, at that point, at just how different, people view this energy situation over there. Because over there, if I remember correctly, maybe it's about half the amount of energy equivalent that they're utilizing per capita in comparison to the United States.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's way more than I was like, they're definitely less, but it could be, I didn't think it was going to be.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at these that are never turned off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number one thing we can do at Digital Getters.
Turn our lights off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So things like that. And I mean, regardless of this number is higher or lower, there's still something to be said. And you can very well see it just from daily habits of people. Okay, so for the most part, I was spending time living either with roommates that were international or by myself or with my significant other. And the people that I was surrounding myself with, at least I was trying to surround myself with most of the time, were individuals of European origin, because I'm in their territory now and I really want to know how they think, what they do, just so I can, not just to blend in or fit in, but to respect them and, be able to assimilate myself into their culture. Yeah. So now the number one thing was the lights. This is something maybe a lot of people don't think about. Whenever I leave a room, I'm not using that room right now. There is no reason to keep anything on. Okay. And fortunately, if I'm too lazy to reach the switch, I can just call out Alexa, turn off the lights.
Right.
We have that utility over here because a lot of people own an Amazon Echo or they have some kind of smart meter. Not everyone does, but you have that utility and you should be able to use it. Like right. I mean, it doesn't take too much effort to use your voice. Hopefully. Right. Hopefully. And so, whenever I moved over there were certain moments in time where, I was forgetting to turn off the lights. And so somebody would bug me and say like, hey, like, why is the light on? And I was like, oh man, it just kind of like slipped my mind. And so in the very beginning, I was, I felt bad actually, because, this was a very simple fix that I can do to actually decrease my consumption. So that was one example. Another thing is, let's say, air conditioning and heating. I'm not home most of the day. Right. Okay. And I don't need it to be Antarctica whenever I step back into my house in 7 hours or it be a sauna. Why don't I just, turn it off? And at the moment that I really need to use it, I can turn it back on. Or if I have to, just set it at an ambient temperature so that I know that, it's going to be leveled enough and it's not going to be continuously on during the day if I put it on an automatic mode. Meanwhile, I'm not going to say which hotel, and it's actually not even here. It's in Los Angeles. I went to the gym the day I got back this time around to Los Angeles was around September. And over there in Los Angeles, it was like scorching hot. But typically maybe you would have like the temperature set at, 80, 85-ish if you're ballsy. And they had it set at like 67 degrees. Meanwhile, it's 102 degrees outside. What the hell is that? And so I made a complaint to the manager and I just very nicely, I said like, hey, your AC is set at 67 and it's really, really hot outside. I mean, that difference is going to cause a lot of energy usage and it's not even able to, keep up with the demand. You need to really do something about it. So I came back the next day to the gym and it was still like that. And so I tried to like just manually change it and I even couldn't. So these were like really like small things that after 3 years of living over there really irked me now, that I've come back over here. And they add up because I'm not the only person that sees this or that's not the only building that does this. Right. That's one building. How many buildings do we have in the United States? I don't know, but that's a lot, right? And chances are a lot of them aren't necessarily fitted for purpose, consideration of like, let's say, you know, their energy or I don't know, the heat levels or the cold levels that are within that area. So I guess also we see this trend a little bit more exasperated with just this infinite amount of what we think is supply. Actually, in somewhere like Texas, this is an energy capital for a reason. You know, we want to build and we want to show that quality of life can be infinitely amazing.
Yeah.
But at what cost?
Right.
Okay. The other simple thing, which, I mean, I was just talking today with about this with someone is, let's say, for example, Houston, it's not necessarily the most pedestrian friendly city that you can find. I am here without any type of car transportation. I've been using Ubers everywhere I go. And I really wanted to actually walk from Midtown to downtown for the conference, but that was a bad idea because I'm going through like underpasses and like really weird,
dangerous,
dangerous, suspect. And there was like one sliver or like a little spot where, you know, it was okay to just walk because there was actual like pavage to walk over there. Meanwhile, I'm kind of afraid of going through the underpass, not necessarily because of somebody coming up to me. I'm just afraid somebody's going to like hit me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Houston drivers are crazy.
Yeah. So, and that's, I guess, more related to like, let's say public sector and infrastructure to make walkable areas that people feel safe to walk through. Again, not necessarily with who's going to come up to you. It's just, are you going to be okay to walk?
Right.
In every aspect.
In every aspect. You've got giant gas guzzlers over here that are probably 7 times the size of you too. I'm talking about, you know, trucks. So over here, like, you know, you're just kind of a little bit underpowered whenever you're looking at them, and you're very ambivalent in terms of like, can I walk? Can I not walk? But I want to walk. I'm used to walking now. I want to, you know, view the city a little bit and remember what I used to love about, you know, being in Texas. But I really can't do that by foot. And, you know, it's a little bit bothersome. So, and that actually has a lot to do with our consumption habits too. You know, do you see good public transportation in these areas? And do you feel confident enough to, if you're not going to be taking public transportation, to be able to walk? You can't do either. So what's your next best bet? A car.
Yeah.
And if we're a lot, I mean, I don't remember if in Houston we have, what is it called? Carpool lanes in the.
We do.
We do? Okay, great.
Some places, not all.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys live here, so I don't know if you can tell me how often people use them, if you can like see.
So Colin and I ride to work every morning, so we get to take it.
Okay.
And it's pretty bare. Not a lot of people use it. Yeah. And traffic will be stopped on I-10 completely, and we're just zooming past because no one's in the carpool lanes.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they are, I notice there's no one else in the. They're not supposed to be there.
They're not even supposed to be there. Yeah.
I look in it every time. We're like, they need some cops over here. Get these people.
Yeah. So you got it basically. There's you know, I'm used to taking buses now. I'm used to taking the metro now. I don't really think twice about it. If I have to go pick up groceries, and let's say it's a 30-minute walk, I'll do it. Even if I have like 3 or 4 bags in my hand, it's more like nature to me now. Nobody really had to tell me to do it. I was just viewing other people, and maybe there's something to be said about that kind of public sentiment. Over here, there needs to be someone, I guess, in maybe this is more of a regional thing where you have to look at it city by city, but there has to be somebody over here to kind of like start that initiative mentally. Right. And this goes out to the audience. I mean, maybe you don't need someone to start it off. Maybe what I'm telling you, you maybe never thought about, and it makes sense to you to maybe try some of these things. But there still has to be some kind of like push, let's say policy wise, or somebody to show that, you know, there is actual value in trying to decrease our consumption. Again, it has to be an optimization effect. You know, we can't expect that every resource we have in our life is, and, you know, you can even talk about you yourself. You know, you're at some point you're going to even die. Sorry to be a little bit sad there, but you know, nothing is permanent in this world. And same case with some of the resources that we're using. So just something that needs to be kept in mind more. And maybe if you think about it a little bit existentially, it can, you know, push something in your brain to say like, hey, you know, maybe I don't need to be utilizing this much of this or this much of this. I can actually cut them down by really simple steps throughout the day. Do you guys drink, well, I'm doing it now too, but do you guys drink bottled water often or?
We actually here now have water dispensers, and we have, other than this,
we bought
right
water
now.
bottles.
We had a ton of water bottles leftover from Fuse, so we have them now. But typically in the office, we save these bottles for guests, and we are under rules that
Not
everyone
to
else
use these.
uses our reusable ones, because we drink the most water here, just you know, day to day.
Of course, yeah. So there's kind of another simple fix that a lot of people can do. Home water filters are actually pretty reasonable investments.
Can you explain that?
Yeah.
How does this
decrease
energy consumption?
Right. So
or increase.
Right.
Sorry.
So this is manufactured. Okay. And more manufactured materials automatically implies some form of consumption, because you can't make anything without using anything. Right. This is a very simplistic thing, because we do have an issue with a lot of plastic usage, and some of it does actually end up being recycled. But why does it even need to be recycled when, you know, you don't even need to produce as much? Why not use our natural resources that are readily available through systems that were funded by the state to provide this, life-enhancing liquid?
Yeah. So it goes back to supply and demand.
Right,
if
exactly,
we're drinking this all the time,
then
they're going to make more.
Exactly, yeah. Long story short. But now, again, water filters aren't necessarily the most expensive investment, and they pay off very well, and it decreases the amount of waste that you are utilizing. So all in all, it's kind of a effect that goes way beyond what you think. And if you kind of just open your eyes outside of your immediate vicinity, you'll be able to see that too.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I am curious, when you talk to other people here and you bring this up, like, why don't we talk about, decreasing consumption?
Yeah.
What is the rebuttal? Like, what do they say? Like, are they like, why would you even say that? Or, like, I just want to know what the narrative is.
Yeah, it's not even a why would you even say that? It's always kind of what you said. I never even thought about that before.
Yeah. It's like you're dumbfounded. Like, you're in awe. You can do that.
Yeah, you're actually in awe.
Yeah.
And this is the most basic principle of life. Okay. Supply and demand. Again, I mean, I've said that a little bit too much at this point, but it's supply and demand. And it doesn't just work one way or the other. And we don't hear it enough in our heads, or we don't see it enough across us to actually want to think about that. So it's as simple as that. Like, nobody really goes long enough to, or far enough to actually educate or talk about this with a lot of people. Again, like, whenever I was living here, I'll say that very truthfully, I didn't even think about that as much. I thought I can just, use my car, pump it with gas, and then be on my way. Meanwhile, there's people in actually France that are retrofitting their vehicles in order to run on 85% ethanol.
Wow.
Can you imagine the amount of reduction in your emissions just by doing that? And I mean, those are very simple investments you can make into your vehicle to move you from point A to point B if you absolutely have to use your own vehicle. There's even initiatives now, I feel like it was about 3 or 4 months ago, where one of the ministers, I believe it was the Minister of Energy in France, actually said that they're going to be fining businesses that leave their door open and have the air conditioning on.
Wow.
So that very simple thing, right? Do you think in your head, if your air conditioner is on, do you leave your window open? You're not supposed to, right? Or you're not even supposed to leave your door open. Like, the point of the air conditioner is to circulate cold energy. I've seen people over here actually that whenever they're driving, they leave their window open and they have the AC on because they like the feeling.
God. Now that you bring that up, this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm not afraid to admit it because I'm learning.
Of course, please.
So,
we're all learning.
So Colin and I, we drive to work every morning. I'm always cold and he's not. So he likes to blast the AC and I'm like, get it off of me. Well, we have so we have a Toyota Camry. So it's a small car. I like to put mine on the heat more on and his is on cold. And he got so mad at me. He's like, you're wasting so much energy. And I'm like, no, I'm cold. I'm not wasting energy. It would be wasted anyway. And he's like, are you serious right now? He's like,
okay.
he's like, no. He's like doing this. He's like, the car is like trying to pump this and pump that, and it's just circulating, and you're using more gas, which is energy. And I'm like, yeah, well. I'm like,
I don't feel good.
So I was like, I turned it off, and I'm like, well, we just won't use any energy. But
smarter.
I know. And after I said that, he was like, I shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
But it just like things like that. I didn't even like.
Yeah.
It didn't compute to me like that using AC in your using the AC in your car and like using more gas faster. You have to fill up your car more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Just things like that. I've never thought about it in a way of the overall picture.
And I love that you brought up that in France, and I'm sure other countries that, businesses are getting fined for stuff like that. Because it reminds me when we had, I guess the freeze, I think something had happened in the last couple of years. And I remember it was a whole thing, and the city was encouraging everyone to save their usage during the freeze. They were doing rolling blackouts, all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
And you look at downtown and every single skyscraper had multiple lights. I'm sure the air was on, and a lot of people were getting a little bit testy on social media at, our city government for being like, are you telling these businesses to do the same?
Yeah.
You're getting on consumers for doing
that
it.
Like because they were close to the med center? Like I think they couldn't turn off
I don't know. I mean,
I know
it was
the hospitals. I don't know, but
I know like
it's
downtown.
Very true.
I'm sure there's. So I remember just looking downtown, and I get they couldn't turn off the power, but I think the issue was that not
like a miscommunication.
That the businesses could have sent someone or somehow the lights.
Yeah,
the
turn
lights.
off the lights.
That's all.
Simple.
It was completely lit up when everyone in the city was supposed to, like consumer was supposed to be conserving energy.
Yeah. And so these are moments where it's like a very short-term response too. Like, I mean, granted, I mean, like I said, everyone has something to bring to the table. I'm not saying everything that they're doing in France is correct right now. They're also dealing with the energy crisis over there. Maybe France is a little bit less impacted because they predominantly use nuclear in order to create their electricity. But there's a lot of like short-term responses people are doing in order to manage the energy situation. So it's understandable, but it has to be kind of inclusive of everyone. Okay. You don't just say to the average Joe, hey, stop using electricity or stop running your water from these hours to these hours. You have to also enforce it with the businesses. And if the businesses don't have some kind of like value proposition to actually keep things open, except for, hey, I need to make money, then turn it off. Tell them to work from home. Tell them to work from home too.
Yeah.
You see how small like it gets? Like it could be simplistic. Now, if you ask maybe a politician, they're going to say, oh, but there's red tape. There's whatever hell else that you have to think about. Okay. But are we still going to be thinking about that red tape in, let's say, the next 50, 60 years when things can get very testy in terms of our resources and our constraints? What are we going to do then?
Yeah.
Okay. So think with the short-term response, but understand that in the long term, a lot of what's happening right now is going to affect, what your long-term outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I'd be interested to see too what sort of initiatives some just energy companies, no matter what vertical in energy that you're in, are taking on the business side. Like, are they making a conscious effort to, just like I said, turn off the lights, make sure the lights are off.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if people aren't in their offices, because people forget.
Yeah.
Is there a way that they can just make sure that they're conserving electricity and
well, in terms of energy conservation, I've definitely seen a lot of more businesses are saying to at least their workforce, like, hey, if you can work from home, actually in this case, you're not going to be utilizing gas in order to go from your home location to the office, and essentially make sure you're only powering your laptop for work from this hour to this hour. Can you imagine how simple of a fix that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't comment on, any businesses in particular. This is what I've seen as just like an aggregate from some of the businesses in Europe. But there's definitely institutions and organizations that have made this like effort. I just can't say exactly who's done what. Yeah. I don't know actually if in Houston during what was it that the wind energy issue. What was it during
the freeze?
So it was called. That's what was called
freeze.
The freeze.
Yeah, the freeze.
Yeah. Were they telling people to work from home at that point or no?
People couldn't be on the roads.
Okay, so essentially they were working from home,
right? Yeah, like no one was working.
Okay,
no one, like the city like shut down. No one was working. No, because nowhere had power.
Yeah,
like before the rolling blackouts hit, everything was out.
Yeah,
everything was. It was bad. So
it's like hurricane level impact on work.
It really was,
and it wasn't
it
just
really was.
Houston. It was all of Texas.
Yeah, it was Texas.
I didn't even realize because they just kept talking about West Houston.
Texas,
wow, okay.
And where was it? Was it Dallas that it was really bad? Where you would like people's pipes were bursting and it was like frozen. Like what are those icicles? I'm like, what are those things? I don't get snow.
The icicles.
The frozen things.
The freeze, the frozen.
The popsicles, but they're not popsicles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really bad and it was all of Texas. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Jeez. So that's more of a, I guess, I mean, we talked about this at Fuse, that's more of an infrastructural situation.
Right.
That's where, capital expense has to probably go the next time around to make sure things like intermittency aren't necessarily going to be very problematic. Which actually you guys had a really good conversation in regards to energy storage about this. So I really appreciated listening to that.
Shout out to that panel.
I cannot wait to listen to all of the panels. We didn't get a chance to listen on
It's
any.
hard, yeah. You guys were working, like running around, making sure nothing breaks.
But we keep hearing about how good they were. So I'm like, I can't wait to watch.
Yeah. We sent out the surveys this morning and so far everyone's
cool.
They're all really good.
Yeah.
It was really cool to like listen to some of these.
It's been okay.
Yeah.
It's been good. One 6 out of 10. Shout out to
whoever 6 out of 10.
You know who you are.
Yeah. I liked how, some of those conversations really weren't super vanilla. They were, regardless of whether or not, I agree with someone's public sentiment. I think it's always very important to be vocal, opinionated, because whenever you just start to, maneuver around these kinds of big hot topics and not really want to answer things appropriately, that's where this miscommunication and misalignment really does come from. And, these are big businesses. This mentality does translate very heavily into just your average Joe, average consumer. So being vocal, very, very important, from that both business perspective and from the regular consumer perspective.
I was going to say, speaking of being vocal, we are just so happy that it all worked out.
Yeah, this was super last minute.
Julie on the fly was like, "Can you do the podcast tomorrow?"
Yeah. I know, and that you were willing to. That's really cool that you made time to come.
Of course,
we're so excited. So, Jules usually asks 3 questions at the end. They're called rapid fire questions. I actually don't remember what they are because she usually says them, but we're gonna try this. So, rapid fire, 3 questions.
I feel like I remember 2.
And do I have to give quick answers?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I know one is, what is like one thing you wish people knew about the energy industry?
What is either the biggest misconception you think that, around energy? What is the biggest misconception that you...
We're not out to destroy the world. We want to help it.
Yes.
I love that. And I know one is, what's your most embarrassing story?
That's the last one. There's one in between that.
What is that?
Why should so she usually asks this.
Okay,
and are you a Gen Zer? Is 25 a Gen Zer?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I act like it a little bit, but I feel like I still got my millennial. Roots.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
So pretend I'm Jules.
Okay.
And you're 23.
And I'm 23.
Okay.
Can't you tell?
All right.
Why should I get into the industry? Like, why should I be interested in energy? Why does it matter to me as a 20-something, year old? Why should I care?
Well, you're 23 right now. Chances are you have still quite a lifetime on this earth. But if you have any sympathy for it, and maybe you're whoever you create as a result of your life, it's something that is going to affect them a lot in the future. So you have to be cognizant for the sake of your future, if that's your,
That's
whoever
a good
you're going
answer.
to create.
Jules, I hope you're listening.
Yes.
Hope that was a
You
good
hear
question.
that, Jules?
I hope that was a good answer, Jules.
It was a great answer.
Okay.
It was a great answer. Then the last one, what is one of your most embarrassing stories? This is a fun one.
Oof.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy, just a quick whatever comes to your mind.
Gosh, the thing is I have a lot.
Let's hear them all.
Oh, gosh.
I told mine.
Oh, gosh. I don't even know which one.
I think Diana still takes the cake for me.
Me too.
Oh, man. I can't even. I'm drawing a blank, honestly. But I have a lot. That's the problem.
We should have told you this question at the beginning so you could have thought about it.
Oh, man. I guess they're not so embarrassing now that I think about it. So maybe Maybe I don't have any embarrassing stories.
All right. Next time you're back on our podcast,
you have to think of one. Do something embarrassing between now and then.
Okay, we'll do.
You're
and you can even ask.
me.
I'll even allow you to ask me one extra rapid fire question as a result of not being able to answer this.
On the fly.
Let's go.
What are you most excited about in the industry right now?
That's a good one. We should just add that.
Yeah, that's probably a good one to add. Yeah. There's a lot more communication now, and people are they seem to be realizing some of the importance of our current energy situation, again, as it relates to supply and demand. So I love how, the conversations have become a lot more fruitful, and also a lot more energy professionals have become more vocal as well. And, have started to post a little bit about, their experiences and their opinions. So you feel less alone, actually. Right. And you feel like, you have an outlet, much like Digital Wildcatters, in order to speak about some of those important topics.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. I love this conversation. It was really good. I learned a lot. I am not going to drink water bottles.
Yeah.
I can't promise that, but I'll try.
Okay. Just, what helps some people, and it's weird, but it actually does help a lot. Get a really cute water bottle.
I do. And I like for it to hold a bunch of water.
Yeah,
that way
exactly.
And
then you can
tracking it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I use my Fitbit always to track how much water I drink throughout the day. And it makes it more interactive, which I think is what, whenever we say we learn through interaction and experience, having those outlets that allow you to be a little bit more interactive with your consumption is actually very important. So highly recommend for other people that are drinking too much water from plastic bottles, get a cute water bottle with little numbers
Make it
on
an accessory.
Make it an accessory, yes.
I have a friend who has one. We call it her emotional support water bottle. She doesn't go anywhere without it.
Yep.
Shout out to you, Alyssa Pollard.
That is so funny. All right, Magy, if people want to learn more about you or, anything.
LinkedIn?
Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn if you can spell my last name correctly, but it's already a very different name, so you shouldn't have a problem.
And Magy, Magy.
Yeah.
Only one you'll find on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Fun fact about that, actually, I think it was whenever they translated my birth certificate, because I was actually born as an expat in Russia. So I guess whenever they translated my birth certificate, it ended up being Magy. I don't know how, but
was it supposed to be Maggie?
I don't think it was supposed to be. It just happened to be Magy. I'm
sorry.
For it, though. I mean, I'm for it though. I mean, it adds a little.
It's very different.
Yeah,
I like
adds
it.
a little bit of something different.
Yeah, I even asked John. I'm like, "Are you?" Because I was writing the email. And I'm like, "Hey, Magy," and I'm like, "John, are you sure it's Magy?" He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
But thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you. You went back to LA first. You went straight back to France.
Yeah, gonna go back to LA a little bit, chill out over there, and then probably sometime towards the next month or so, I'll head back over to France.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, safe travels.
Thank you.
For everyone out there, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
We will start putting out more content.
Now that Fuse is over.
Now that Fuse is over, we can breathe and we can create content, and
we'll be back.
We'll be back.
All right.
Great.
Bye.
Peace.